tonight. I have one question, and this is in regards to immigration and settlement, and this is very dear to me because today I dealt with the refugee matter in front of the IRB, the Refugee Board. The government of Canada has maintained a reputation for as a welcoming home to countless refugees over its lifespan, and it is one of the tenets of Canadian foreign policy. Federal support from the last year has been towards overcrowding and in support of these refugees. But what we found is that they're not adequately housed and they tend to end up being homeless in a lot of situations. The City of Toronto has consistently requested funds from the federal government for support. As councillor, how will you ensure, what would you pursue to support these refugees, to provide that adequate support so that they're not ending up on the streets, and that does not then kind of diminish or their position against the actual homeless population that we have in the city? I'll start with Ms. Chang and then.
There are some great organizations in our city that are doing exactly what you've described, which is supporting refugees, and not just refugees, it's also refugee claimants that are the ones that often fall through the gaps. As a refugee, you are usually part of a program, so it's more clear where you're going to land, whereas a claimant arrives at the airport or across the border and they have no place to go. And so there are some great places like the People's Church. There are actually 2 houses in Willowdale that and I actually knocked on the doors of one of them, that currently house refugee claimants in this way. And when I talk to refugees, they appreciate when there is a kitchen, common space, because you really need community when you are a refugee. And in fact, one of my friends, her family was a refugee family, and they shared a house with 2 other refugee families, and they have become like family over the years because they became a community. And so for me, the best way to spend money that the federal government is sending our way to support refugees is to support the charities that are already doing incredible work in a community-based model, and really to support refugees. It's not just about the institution. In every aspect of supporting vulnerable people, the community has to be part of the solution. And that is only possible when the scale is smaller. When you have larger, because even Toronto Community Housing, where I serve, we have 180 households there, and we're stretched. And we have a very strong 200 volunteers to help us, but there's so many things that I see in that community where I would love to have even more support from the community, and it's incredibly hard. Everybody's very busy. So the more that you can have smaller scale with some community support, to me that is the best model with the best outcomes, because it's not just about housing, it's about relationship, it's about potentially mentoring and bridging into larger networks. And when we have, and that's my worry for Novotel, is that having 700 people land in our neighborhood, the incredible work that will have to be made to ensure that our community is part of the support. And that's something that I will definitely work towards, is building the infrastructure that is necessary to ensure that the refugee shelter doesn't just land in our neighborhood like a rocket ship from another planet, but that we actually embrace the people and give them the support that is necessary. It's not the model that I was in favor of. I really think smaller scale and spread out is preferred, but the decision has been made and we have to make sure that it's implemented properly. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lee.
Thank you. It's one of the sensitive topics in my heart. I am an immigrant. I came to Canada with my parents. My father escaped North Korea. He was a refugee in South Korea for a number of years. Listen, we are Canadians. We are very lucky enough to live in a country where we have plenty of things to enjoy. We are known to help others who need it up the most. We should be welcoming the refugees. One thing that a lot of people are afraid of is what happened in 5800 Yonge Street. They turned refugee shelter to homeless shelter, and then now drug addiction treatment center. I think a lot of people are afraid of that. But if we could make it, listen, my dream, my vision of this refugee center is we'll make the best refugee center in the whole entire Canada. Make it work. Have enough support, like the library, York Center Library, to be able to have courses for them to teach the refugees job skills, English skills, communication skills, so they can go out and find a job. And why not find a job along the Yonge Street? We have lots of businesses who are struggling to find people to work for them. Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be a blessing for us to help a refugee get settled, move to our neighborhood, become our neighbor? That is my vision of turning Novotel. I want to make sure that it succeeds. I want our neighbors to be part of it, give them enough support, and find the jobs right in our area.
Thank you.
I think all three of us agree that supporting refugees is an important part of the Canadian tradition. So many members of our community have come from other countries, many of them as refugees, and I think that the numbers show that the people coming into Canada as refugees are those that have fought and clawed and scratched to get here from very, very difficult places. And most of the time they continue to fight and claw and scratch to make better lives for themselves and for their children. So I'm strongly in support of ensuring that there are resources in place to welcome refugees into the country, into Toronto, into our community. I think the issue that we struggle with at the city level, because we're not controlling immigration policy, is how do we do that most efficiently, how do we do it most economically? Right now we have, I think the stat is from 30% of refugees in our shelter system. It's a very inefficient and expensive way to house refugees. We need a better model than that. I agree with Lily. I think in a perfect world, smaller facilities across the city would be a great model, would be a great way to go. But if you think about the numbers, we're talking 700 people that we are looking at moving into the Free Park Home site. How many homes would you need to acquire simultaneously to be able to accommodate that many people? There's no plan, there's no realistic plan that would allow the city to accommodate that much space all at once to be able to house that many people, nor would it be efficient to offer supports and services to that population coming in, because they are going to need language training, they are going to need support finding housing, they are going to need support finding jobs, they are going to need support, especially families, getting their kids into schools and starting education here in Canada. That is why the city is looking at these refugee welcome centers as an effective way, as an efficient way to welcome refugees and get them out on their own 2 feet as quickly as possible. That is why that program is being pursued. I agree with the other candidates. I think that the communication coming from the city on all types of shelter and housing projects has been very, very poor. I agree that the level of confidence in our community right now is very, very low. And if shelter support and housing staff at the city are going to continue to bypass council in making these decisions, we need to make sure that they are at least offering a much, much better communication plan with the community. Because if the community isn't buying into this, if the confidence is low, if the fear is out there being stoked, and sometimes quite legitimately, as we talked about at 5800 with issues that are there, it becomes more difficult to deal with these housing issues right across the city. So from a communication perspective, we can do much better. The liaison committees that have been raised here at any such site is absolutely critical, something that we need to deliver to make these projects work.
Thank you. I will now open up the floor to...
Sorry, can I do a rebuttal?
I'll allow you for a rebuttal.
Yeah, sorry. Just, you know, I think what I suggest is that the city has signed a 5-year contract for $79 million and saying that it's an emergency. But to me, an emergency measure should not be 5 years. And we should be investing in sustainable infrastructure that lasts beyond 5 years. So if there was a way to be an emergency shelter for 1 or 2 years while we figure out how to scale up multiple charities, because there are multiple charities doing this work, yes, it will take time to get up to 700. It doesn't have to happen instantly, but we should be investing in sustainable solutions and not just spending $79 million and having nothing to show for it after 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you. I will